Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the continuation of our lecture video series for the course FRM Geospatial Methods in Forestry. In the last video, which is part 4, we end up with our discussion about the different different maps that's utilized in QGIS. Now, this is the part 5 of our lecture video series, which we will just continue the discussion last week. Now, what you see here in your slide is Ginsaugon, St. Bernard. This is a municipality. St. Bernard is a municipality in southern Leyte, in the place where I am from. Ginsaugon is a barangay from that municipality. In February 17, 2006, there was there was an earthquake that happened in that location, which resulted to a massive landslide. It nearly 1,000 people died in the town of Ginsaugon when heavy rains triggered the landslide. Aside from the earthquakes, we have also heavy rains. So makita nato diri sa atong akuan you can see here in our map, this gray area here is the part where the landslide occurred. So even in satellite image, sa satellite yung mga pictures nakuha, it really shows that there was a massive landslide that occurred because ang kanang gray nga inyo makita nga color, that is bare soil na. So that is why the application of GIS, you can also, without going mismo dito sa usa ka lugar, you can already see and look at the extent of the damage that has been made by that particular landslide. So this is a picture, no? This is a part of the mountain that took the landslide mo ni dinhi sa ubos ang barangay, tanan tibok barangay ang nawala sa mapa because of the landslide. Again, nearly 1,000 people died in that barangay. So we also utilize QGIS in understanding the likelihood of a flood tragedy. So this is an example of a understanding the likelihood of flood tragedy in Cagayan de Oro City using QGIS technique. So Cagayan de Oro can be found somewhere in Mindanao. You can see here, this is the watershed area of Cagayan de Oro. You see here, this is the topographic topo map of Cagayan de Oro. You can see here the mountain. You can see here the yellow lines. These are the boundaries of watershed. You can see here the blue lines. These are the different river network system or streams, rivers and creeks that can be found. So by looking at these maps, we can already understand and predict the likelihood of having a flood tragedy or the extent of having flood in Cagayan de Oro. Why? Because we can already map out areas that have low elevation or low-lying areas from higher elevation or higher areas. Most likely, areas that naa diri sa ubos nga mga elevation are susceptible to flooding. Mao na diri kaning napula, these are areas that is susceptible to flooding. Pag nagbaha ini nga mga rivers, these are the areas that will be flooded. Okay? So we can also overlay elevation image with data and municipal boundaries like this one. This is the elevation model, elevation maps. We can see here the darker, the green color, that is higher elevation, that is mountainous area. And the brown in color is your low-lying areas. And these white lines, these are the administrative boundary. Kung asa ang boundary sa aning munisipyo from Carrascal, Cantilan, Madrid, Carmen, etc. Also this one, the same lang. So processed elevation data and municipal boundary, this is what you can see using QGIS. Ako nagipakita niya ito muna. You can see here that the band 1 is 25. So pasabutan na that 25 meter ang iyang band length. Band length sa iyang elevation is 25 meters. So this is hypothetical protected area. How many layers are shown? Example ni, kung ato makita how many layers, there are 3 layers that is shown. In this, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 6 layers that is shown in the map. Makita ninyo there. The one that ng X mo na ang na-show diri sa atong map. We can see the administrative boundary, PHL admin 2. That is the municipal o provincial boundary. We can see the convex hull. That is the blue line. That is the boundary of the protected area, the forest area. And we have the polygon, kaning violet. This is the proposed protected areas. Outside the violet color, which is also inside the boundary, are your buffer zones. Okay, so that is how you simply read your map. You can also view that 2D man to atong nakita kanina. There are also certain functions of QGIS where we can view our maps in 3D. This is 2.5, where there are also 3D. Now let's talk about fault lines. Again, I already discussed to you last meeting that the Philippines is one of the areas in Southeast Asia that runs in the Pacific Ring of Fire. So the Pacific Ring of Fire are areas, for example, these are fault lines. So again, these are fault lines, so say fault lines. These are areas where two tectonic plates are meets with each other. So example ng tectonic plates, we have here, kita na to, tectonic plates. So these are examples of tectonic plates. Ano na lang. This one. PH. That's because wala makita ang Pilipinas here. Loading. So this is here. This is what I told you earlier about tectonic plates. So ang kanang green the green ones are the countries on Earth. The black lines that you see, ng mga boundaries niya, those are tectonic plates. Now, tectonic plates can be found below the crust, nasa atong crust sa Earth. So those are kaning mo gitawag siya plates because these are big, these are large areas of rocks. Now, na siya mga boundaries. Ang mahitabuan na earthquake occurs when those two tectonic plates bangs with each other, magabangga sila. So that what happens when you have earthquakes is because they are constantly moving ding mga tectonic plates. Why? Because below the tectonic plates is a layer of plastic magma. So mura siya o di siya in water state, but it is in plastic state. These are magma where these tectonic plates are floating. So since magma siya, plastic siya, from time to time, these plates move. And the movement of these plates with one another results to what we have now, earthquakes. Now, there are two major types of movements of plates and how we have our mountains, because we have example, these are two plates. So, ang chance na is if there are two plates, if nagbangga ning plate, one of that mupaibabaw, ang usa mapaubos, that is what we have mountains. Mo na natin mga bukid, especially volcanoes and mountains, because those are formed when two plates banged with each other and mo-uprise siya. Mo na ma-form sa mountains. Now, the opposite scenario is that when two plates separates with each other. So, ang tawag adto sa two plates na magtagbo, mahimo nga mountain that is convergent. While, if ang duha ka plates mag-separate, that is divergent. That is how your trenches are formed. Kanang bitang sa dagat. Kanang sa dagat nga may mga areas nga palit kung sa Bisaya pa. Mga kantilado nga areas. So, sa continuation na itong discuss kanina, this is, you see here, these are mountains and these are trenches, or sa Bisaya pa, or sa waray ninyo kanang dito ako mga kantil. So, ang mga dagat na kantilado, kanang dito ang mga dagat na nakakasabay bayon after how many meters na kalarong dayon, or nga to sa ilarong sa dagat, may mga part na diretso padulong sa ilarong sa ilatuna at sa ubos na itong na kayo. Now, these are formed because of those different tectonic plates. Now, they have the subduction zone na form ng mga trenches. Kani usa ni siya ka plate, tectonic plate ni siya, tectonic plate. Now, pag nagbangga na silang duha, ang isa na paubos, mao na siya ang maka-form siya trench. Pero pag nagbangga na siya ng isa na paigbaw, mo nang ma-form og mga mountains. So that is the basic concept on how these tectonic plates are moving and how they form mountains and trenches. Now, in this case, we have the Mindanao fault. Why is it important that we map out these fault lines? Because these fault lines are active areas, or areas where two plates are that meets with each other. Chances are areas that is naagian ani nga mga fault lines have higher chances of having earthquakes. Now, if you map this out sa inyong area, well, diri sa Samar, dili kayo kita na dito ang fault line ang atong Samar Leyte, diri sa Ormoc, Tungonan, diri sa Eastern Samar. Well, sa Samar, less likely. That is why usually ang atong mga epicenters of earthquakes coming from Eastern Samar. So it's very important that we know and that we map out these fault lines, because we can already decide on what are the measures that we do. For example, ang imong building na dinhi dool sa fault lines sa Cagayan de Oro. Kung sa may mubuhaton as engineer, for example, as engineer, you will be able to create or to build structure that is earthquake proof. So these are mga different important decision-making areas that we do before we build something. Okay, we should consider. For example, this one. These are the earthquake points that happened in Philippines for the past 50 years or so. If atong makita, there are areas that have high that igo sa atong fault line diri sa Tanawa. Dinhi sa Samar, ang pinakadamo nga concentration of earthquakes is coming from Eastern Samar. Diri sa Leyte, ang pinakadamo dinhi. Diri sa Ormoc this is the Leyte. Okay, this is Ginsaogo, no? Southern Leyte. Kita na to diri. So, ang diri, San Jorge, wala ta kaayo diri makita ang occurrence of earthquakes. They are concentrated din sa Eastern Samar. Well, if you look at Mindanao have the highest earthquake points that occurred for the last 50 years din sa lower part. So, ang pinaka-safe nga part sa earthquake sa Pilipinas is Palawan. If hadlokon ka mong earthquake, balhin ka mo sa Palawan, because less likely nakaka-earthquake ang Palawan, because the area is not wala na igo sa ato nga fault line. So we have earthquake concentration, kikitaw na to through heat signatures or through graduated colors. So makita na to the highest occurrence of what we call earthquakes is coming here in Mindanao and in parts here. Mindanao talaga ang lilinog.